Good afternoon. Today's topic is posterior cranial fossa. So, this is the anterior cranial fossa, this is the middle cranial fossa, and this is the posterior cranial fossa. It is the deepest of all cranial fossae. This is at the highest level, this is at the medium level, and this is at the deepest level, okay, at the lowest level. And posterior cranial fossa lies behind the superior border of petrous temporal bone and the dorsum soleus sphenoid. Okay, this is the petrous temporal bone. We have already studied about temporal bone and we know this is the superior border of petrous temporal bone. So the superior border of petrous temporal bone along with dorsum soleus forms the anterior boundary of posterior cranial fossa. Okay. Now the posterior cranial fossa is formed by portions of sphenoid bone, temporal bone, right, parietal bone, here occipital bone. Okay, so the bones forming the posterior cranial fossa, here you have the sphenoid, here you have the temporal bone, here you have the parietal bone, and here you have the occipital bone. These are the bones that form posterior cranial fossa, and it lodges the hindbrain. Hindbrain consists of cerebellum, horns, and medulla oblongata. So it lodges cerebellum, horns, and medulla oblongata. The posterior cranial fossa is limited above by the tentorium cerebelli. Tentorium cerebelli is a wide tent-shaped fold of dura mater which intervenes between the occipital lobes of cerebral hemispheres above and the cerebellum below. You will study the dural folds in another class and you will learn about tentorium cerebelli. Just know that the posterior cranial fossa is limited above by tentorium cerebelli. Tentorium cerebelli intervenes between the occipital lobes of the cerebral hemisphere and cerebellum. Okay. Now coming to the different features. First of all, about the clivus. This is the clivus, the sloping area anterior to the medulla foramen magnum. This is the foramen magnum and this is the clivus. So clivus is the sloping area anterior to foramen magnum. It is formed by the fusion of posterior part of the body of sphenoid with the basilar part of occipital bone. Right? So this is clivus. The sloping portion anterior to foramen magnum is the clivus, and it is formed by the fusion of the posterior part of the body of sphenoid with the basilar part of occipital bone. Now it is separated from the petrous temporal bone by petro-occipital fissure. Here you can see the petro-occipital fissure. The clivus is separated from the petrous temporal bone by the petro-occipital fissure which ends posteriorly at the jugular foramen. This is the jugular foramen, right? So it ends posteriorly at the jugular foramen. So you have the clivus. Clivus is separated from the petrous temporal bone by the petro-occipital fissure, and petro-occipital fissure posteriorly ends at the jugular foramen. This is the jugular foramen. Then you have the foramen magnum. This is the foramen magnum. It is the largest foramen of the skull, present in the lowest part of posterior cranial fossa. On each side of foramen magnum, a little above the lateral margin on its anterior part, lies the hypoglossal canal. You can see the hypoglossal canal here, right? So this is the clivus, petro-occipital fissure, jugular foramen, foramen magnum, and the hypoglossal canal. Now coming to the squamous part of occipital bone. The squamous part of occipital bone, we have already studied the different parts of occipital bone and the features present here. I am just repeating. The squamous part of occipital bone shows this is the internal occipital crust. This is the internal occipital protuberance. Corresponding to the external occipital protuberance, here there is a protuberance inside, that is the internal occipital protuberance, and there is a vertical bony ridge that is running downward from the internal occipital protuberance to the foramen magnum, that is the internal occipital crust. Then you have the grooves for transverse and sigmoid sinus, right? So the grooves for the transverse sinus are on either side. They run laterally from the internal occipital protuberance to the mastoid angle of the parietal bone, where it becomes continuous with the groove for sigmoid sinus. So these are the grooves for transverse sinus, and as you can see, it is getting continuous with the groove for sigmoid sinus. This is the groove for transverse sinus, and it is continuous with the groove for sigmoid sinus here also, right? This is the groove for sigmoid sinus. So you have the grooves for transverse and sigmoid sinus. So the groove for transverse sinus is continuous with the groove for sigmoid sinus, and it ends at the posterior part of jugular foramen. Okay. Now coming to cerebellar fossa. On either side between the transverse and sigmoid sinus, you have the cerebellar fossa. This is the cerebellar fossa. Then you have the fossa for occipital lobes, one on either side. Lying above the groove for transverse sinus, you have the fossa for occipital lobes. So this is the cerebellar fossa which lodges the cerebellum. This is the fossa for occipital lobes which lodges the occipital lobes of cerebrum. Okay. So once more I repeat, this is the internal occipital protuberance, this is the internal occipital crust, this is the groove for transverse sinus which is continuous with the groove for sigmoid sinus ending in the posterior aspect of the jugular foramen. Then you have the cerebellar fossa, and you have the fossa for occipital lobes of cerebrum. Now coming to the posterior surface of the petrous temporal bone. This is the posterior surface of the petrous temporal bone. This is the superior border. This is the posterior surface of the petrous temporal bone that is also forming a part of posterior cranial fossa. Now here you can see the internal acoustic meatus. And internal acoustic meatus is a bony canal in the center of the posterior surface, lying almost directly medial to the external acoustic meatus, and meatus is about 1 centimeter in length. We have already learned all this while studying about the temporal bone, right? Then you have the subarcuate fossa. This is the subarcuate fossa. It is an indistinct depression, lateral and superior to the internal acoustic meatus, and it contains a dural fold and some blood vessels. Then you have the accuductive vestibule. This is the accuductive vestibule. It is a slit behind the internal acoustic meatus. It transmits the endolymphatic duct of the internal ear. And here you can see the cochlear canaliculus. This is the cochlear canaliculus. It is a notch in the lower border of the posterior surface of petrous bone, just above the anterior end of jugular foramen. It lodges the cochlear canal. So on the posterior surface of petrous bone, you have the internal acoustic meatus, you have the subarcuate fossa, you have the slit for accuductive vestibule, you have the cochlear canaliculus. Okay. Now we will see the different foramina present in the posterior cranial fossa and the structures passing through them. We have already learned about internal acoustic meatus in the temporal bone. Internal acoustic meatus transmits 7th cranial nerve, that's the facial nerve, 8th cranial nerve, that is the vestibulocochlear nerve, then the nervus intermedius, and the internal auditory or labyrinthine vessels. So the 7th and 8th cranial nerve, nervus intermedius, and the labyrinthine vessels. Then you have the jugular foramen. Through the jugular foramen is actually divided into 3 parts. There is anterior, middle, and posterior parts. Through the anterior part passes the inferior petrosal sinus. Through the middle part, the 9th, 10th, and 11th cranial nerves. And through the posterior part, the sigmoid sinus. Okay, so the anterior part transmits the inferior petrosal sinus. Through the middle part, you have the 9th, 10th, and 11th cranial nerves, and through the posterior part you have the sigmoid sinus passing. So this is the groove for sigmoid sinus, so it will be passing through the posterior aspect. Anterior aspect for inferior petrosal sinus, middle aspect for 9th, 10th, and 11th cranial nerves, and posterior aspect for posterior part for sigmoid sinus. Now the 10th and 11th cranial nerves are surrounded by a common sheath of dura mater, but the 9th cranial nerve has an independent sheath of dura mater. Then coming to the hypoglossal canal, this is the hypoglossal canal. As the name suggests, through the hypoglossal canal passes the hypoglossal nerve, and along with hypoglossal nerve you also have the meningeal branch of ascending pharyngeal artery. So through the jugular foramen passes 9, 10, 11 cranial nerves. 12th cranial nerve passes through the hypoglossal canal. Then we will learn about foramen magnum. Now, while learning about the structures passing through foramen magnum is divided into an anterior compartment and a posterior compartment. There is a small anterior compartment and a large posterior compartment. Jugular foramen is divided into three. There is anterior, middle and posterior parts. Foramen magnum is divided into two by the alar ligaments of axis vertebrae. There is an anterior compartment and a posterior compartment. Now coming to the structures passing through the anterior and posterior compartment. To learn that, there is a picture in your textbook. You can refer to that picture. So in this picture you can see the various structures that are passing through the foramen magnum. So this is the anterior compartment, which is small, and this is the posterior compartment, which is big. Through the anterior compartment, from anterior to posterior, you have the apical ligament of Dentz. You have the upper longitudinal band of cruciform ligament. You have the membrana tectorium. So these are the three structures passing through the anterior compartment. Through the posterior compartment passes the anterior spinal artery and the posterior spinal arteries. There is one anterior spinal artery and two posterior spinal arteries. You have right and left posterior spinal arteries. Then you have two vertebral arteries, right and left vertebral arteries. Then you have the spinal root of accessory nerve. In the middle you have the medulla oblongata. So anterior to posterior, in the anterior compartment you have apical ligament of Dentz, upper longitudinal band of cruciform ligament and membrana tectoria. Through the posterior compartment, the structures that you can see are the anterior spinal artery, the medulla oblongata, right and left posterior spinal arteries, the right and left vertebral arteries, the right and left spinal root of accessory nerve. Thank you.